Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show with Dave and Carla Menz, sponsored by our friends over at HM Company, DrainTroughs.com. Today we have another rock star guest for you, but this is going to be a little bit different episode. A lot of times when we have people on the show, our goal is just to authentically share their story, and we think that's great, and there's a place for that. We're going to do that a little bit with Tim Richardson today, which is our guest. He's from LA. And he just built the Deluxe Laundry Spa. He's a coaching client of ours. He's attended our workshop, so he'll speak a little bit to that. But he's going to share his story. But the main context around this episode today is around building a new laundromat. So he built a new laundromat from scratch. I don't like to put us in different categories, but I'll just throw it out there. This guy's a rock star. He's insanely qualified, experienced. He's very wise. He has a lot of business experience outside the industry. And his approach to entering our industry and building a laundromat, I haven't seen too many people approach it in such a professional and organized way. So we're very excited to share Tim's experience of building, and he actually just opened 7 weeks ago. So he's still kind of new as far as operating a laundromat, but he's taken the last couple years to really do a lot of due diligence around researching the industry if it's right for him, and we're going to talk a lot about some of the good content that's out there in the world and some of the bad and things like that. So we hope you get a lot out of this episode.
But before we get started, we do want to spotlight a new offering we have, and that is financing now available. We've had a lot of people over the past few years interested in our coaching programs and our workshops and our handbook and our online course, and they've asked us, do you do any type of payment plans, any type of financing?
So the financing, just to be clear, not for laundromat equipment. We're not
No.
we're not doing financing for laundromat equipment.
This is financing for our programs.
Yes.
So if you are interested in some of our programs, but just don't have the cash flow to maybe put it all down at one spot, we do have some financing programs available now for our coaching, for our workshops, and for our handbook, and for our beginners online course. So you can go to the sales pages on our website for all of those and click on the financing link and look at the different payment plans available. Some of them 3 months, some of them 6 months, some of them 12 months. So if you are someone looking for a financing option for some of our offerings, you'll definitely want to check that out. But let's get to our show with Tim.
For your audience that has not gone and started that journey yet, and the kind of information, the type of money, the type of time, the type of setbacks that a real person actually experienced. Some of it is not pleasant, but we got through it. But there's some hard realities that I did not expect to experience that I did.
All right. So Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited. I'm always excited to have guests, Tim. But you know, I don't hide my feelings, right? And you're one of my favorites, and I don't tell everyone that. Just so you know, he
enjoyed coaching you so much.
It.
He would look forward to your calls.
Absolutely.
Because one thing, you would come in like so prepared with so much data analysis and everything, and you all would dive into the details.
Yep. So before we even get into it, guys, full disclosure, Tim Richardson is a coaching client of mine and a friend of mine. I am very comfortable saying that. Yes. And he's been to our Puck Up and Delivery workshop. He is an absolute rock star, and we'll let him kind of tell his story. But Tim has been in the industry for probably close to a year, because I like to actually count when you start the process, maybe even longer than that. But technically, he owns a laundromat in LA that he built brand new from the ground up that has only been open for 7 weeks. And the reason we're having him on the show is because we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about, he's one of the most disciplined and prepared and researched people I've ever met in my life. I want to be Tim when I grow up, seriously. And when you're a coach and you're very passionate about this industry, it's so fun to coach somebody with not just your positive attitude, which you definitely have, your mission, which we can talk about your mission too, because I think that's super cool. But just your coachability, right? I mean, you're an incredibly successful, incredibly smart individual, very talented in every way, but you were just so humble, and you were just so you're just so prepared. And like Carla said, every time you booked a call with me, I was so excited to see it pop on my calendar, because I knew that I was going to be able to bring you so much value, because I can bring more value to my coaching clients the more prepared they come to the call. The less prepared they come to the call, the less value I can actually provide. That may sound counterintuitive, but it's really not. So anyways, I'm excited to get your story out there. I know you've already been on with the Speed Queen podcast or whatever, and maybe another one.
Yes.
But we're excited to get your story out because Tim, one of the things I love about Tim is he's no nonsense. Like, so he's bringing the real stuff. We're going to get a little beady today, right?
Yes. Well, I wanted to thank you both for having me on. I'm the newbie in this industry. And what I did was I wanted to bring a lot of my background to an industry I knew nothing about. But I also know that after having started and sold a couple businesses, you have to do your background. You have to be prepared. And first and foremost, you have to connect with someone that knows what they're doing, because I didn't have the time to rise up by my bootstraps. I didn't have 15 years. I had 15 days to figure out how to do things.
Yeah.
And so I did look at a lot of videos. I did look at a lot of YouTube, and I settled on the Honorable Dave Mintz and the Honorable Carla Mintz to consult with me and to help me build this free laundromat that I researched for a year and a half or so and came across. So what I want to do in this episode for your audience is pretend I'm me listening to me that has not gone and started that journey yet. And the kind of information, the type of money, the type of time, the type of setbacks that a real person actually experienced. Some of it is not pleasant. And some of it was shocking, but we got through it. My wife and I, with me primarily doing this all alone because she's volunteering at the hospital quite a bit. And the buck stops with you. So there's no one to blame. There's no one to cry to. You just buckle up and get it done. So we can start firing away on what this journey was like. I opened on December 11th. 2024. So that was 7 weeks and 2 days ago, with the Christmas holiday in between and New Year's holiday in between, and now the Pacific Palisades fire in between. So we can dive in. You guys can ask me anything you need. And I want to be brutally honest with the audience for a change of pace. It's really a nice story. It's not over. But there's some hard realities that I did not expect to experience that I did.
Yeah. Before we dive into finding the laundromat and the whole free laundromat, I do want to make sure we hit on your mission as far as getting into the laundromat industry, why you chose to get into the laundry industry, and what you plan on doing with it.
Okay, so I am retired from global security for about 3 years. My wife retired from aerospace after 37 years, about 7 years ago. And she started volunteering at the hospital she was born in, Torrance Memorial Medical Center. She's doing that, and I'm still working. And she's just coming home so bright, so excited, so enthusiastic. It started to rub off on me. And so I started going to some of the functions with her. Fast forward 3 years after that, we're talking 2022. I'm thinking, I really want to get involved with the foundation, Torrance Memorial Hospital. And I really want to give back to them in a big way. And I wanted to find a vehicle that I could do that that doesn't impact our estate. And I initially started looking at storage units. What I wanted to do was I wanted to use the same formula I did with my other businesses, where you grow a business, it acquires and builds equity, and then you sell it to investors. And then you just wash, rinse, and repeat. And so I did that in 2 different businesses. It worked out really, really well. And so I'm searching for that same type of character. And I fell into the laundromat. Okay, so you can build it. It builds equity. You have a positive cash flow, no receivables, and you can sell it at a time certain. So my goal is to find the laundromat, get it up and running, acquire 3 more, because I've been coached. You have quantities of scale, and they generally come in around the 3rd or the 4th store with your employees, with your labor, with your negotiations, and build that brand up and sell it within 10 years and donate 90% of the proceeds to the hospital. So I think the industry has a value of 4 times annual revenue. And so each laundromat can generate, I want it to be about 500,000 in net revenue. That would be $2 million each, and sell it for $8 million in 10 years and give $7 million to the hospital and keep the rest. I want to give 10% to my employees, and I'll keep 5%. So I have an exit plan before I actually started into the laundromat industry.
There's nothing better than free. Ever heard that before? Well, it's not true. You know what your laundromat customers like even better than free? It's fast. That's right, they want to save time more than they want to save money in most cases. They want to get in and out of your laundromat as fast as possible, and they'll pay more for that experience. We're proof of that here in Cincinnati. That's why we added HM Company drain troughs into our newest store in Cincinnati. While they may never know why, your customers will love that your washers all drain better and faster than with old school drain pipes. As if that wasn't enough, every HM drain trough is made in the USA, so they ship in only a few weeks, and everyone is custom made just for you and your project. If you want to provide your customers with a top of the industry experience in your store, then contact your distributor to order your HM Company drain trough today or visit draintroughs.com. Before we get into the actual process, I think your background's really relevant. So, I mean, I don't mean to spend like 30 minutes on it or anything, but you're not just the average bear, right? You have a lot of experience, and a lot of it may not seem transferable to the laundromat industry specifically, but it is transferable to entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about your background, because you mentioned that you're retired after working somewhere for 3 years. So your wife worked somewhere for 37 years, but that wasn't really your path, right?
Right. She's the wind beneath my wings. Yeah. She's the reason I can bounce around. I basically start off at the same company we met after I had left Honeywell. And I ventured off into being a sheriff's deputy. So I was a sheriff's deputy for Los Angeles County in the early 80s and did that for about four to 7 years. But in between that, I started law school. So I was going to law school during the day and working as a sheriff's deputy at night. In my senior year of law school, I retired or resigned from the sheriff's department, and I spent a year and a half in a white collar law firm, family law and white collar fraud. That was more gut wrenching than being a cop, dealing with broken families and things like that. So before taking the bar, I had an exit plan for that. So I went into selling litigation software for law firms. So I stayed close to the industry, but separated from the industry. That's where I made my first successes. What I tend to do is I think in 5-year blocks. So 5-year blocks and then 10-year blocks. And so I kind of taken the idea of some people judge their time by a watch, and I judge mine by a calendar. And that gives me some foresight that a lot of folks I've run across don't have. And your time is short when you're using a calendar instead of a watch. So I'm always on an accelerated path. That led selling that business. I started another sales organization, credit card processing, and started selling to merchants and getting residuals from that portfolio. So find a business that you can build. It has equity, it builds a portfolio, and you can sell it. And so because my attention span is short, I always think in those blocks. And so that one took 9 years, sold that. And now I'm just, okay, what do I do now? And for me, I wanted to always do something different. So I was into security, I was into computers, I was into law, I was into law enforcement. I need to be excited. And so that's when I got into global security. And you start with the basic, my goal is to start with the largest firm in that industry, learn what I can, and then branch off and start my own business as consulting or something doing that. So this is basically my third or fourth business, but my first rodeo is in the laundromat industry. So I'm bringing all that background to the coin-operated, top-loader, Maytag business.
Archaic laundromat industry.
And what excited me was now the technology is catching up with something that excites me. So I wanted my store to reflect the level of technology that's available that is sometimes frowned on or poo-pooed by some of the old guard in our industry.
Mm-hmm. So you've shared with us your background, career-wise. You've shared with us your mission, why you're doing this, because most of us are doing it to make a living or build generational wealth. You actually already have those things, right? You mentioned
Yes.
your kids are already taken care of, the estate, it's already squared away, which is awesome. That's a result of you and your wife's hard work and being disciplined. And now you have this new mission of the hospital and the donation. And I always thought it was really cool that you set aside 10% for your employees. So take us back to the day where you started to research the laundromat industry. And walk us through that process from then until, let's say maybe you met me. Like, I know you found a lot of good information, because there is a lot of good information out there on the internet. I know you found a lot of garbage. That's my word, not yours. Nonsense. And you were trying to, in the beginning, you were trying to kind of filter through it. What's good, what's bad. Tell us about that process, because every newbie goes through that today, right?
We get a lot of
some
people
struggle more than others.
We get a lot of people that want to get into the industry, but they're not sure where to turn or where to find them, things like that. What can you tell us about your journey that could help them?
Again, is when I do wash, rinse, and repeat, is to overwhelm myself with all the information that's available. I'm a ferocious reader, so I can read a book, and if I get just one good idea out of that book, the book was worth $16, and Amazon's coming to my house all the time with books. So I go on Amazon first, and I put in laundromat books, and Dave Books pop up. And so I'm reading every book, every article, every magazine. I'm watching every YouTube. I'm Googling it, and I have a database that I use. It's called HubSpot. And it's basically a CRM or a customer relationship database. And I set that up just for laundromats. And so I started with a goal of how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So my goal was to go no farther than 10-mile radius from my home. So that eliminated me going 50 miles away or to the next state. That narrowed it down. My next goal was to actually generate that amount of revenue. I needed a larger store. So it couldn't be 1,200 square feet. It couldn't have 15 washing machines in there. So I'm looking at 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. That eliminated my search radius. So 10 miles, 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. Then I put a route together, and I Googled the laundromats that met that criteria. And systematically, I would go to those stores thinking that let me start walking into these stores and look for the zombie mat. And I had a couple brokers that I reached out to, and no one wanted to talk to me, even with the fact that I explained my mission. But they said, do you have a lease? And I said, no. And they said, call us when you do. So for a lot of the audience out there, you're going to get a lot of resistance and possibly zero enthusiastic assistance from brokers, because they're dealing with actual laundromat owners and large time investors. And now that I'm a laundromat owner, I can make a phone call and the C parts now. So
yes,
it is a nice closed club once you become an owner. And it is difficult to get in. You need to be well capitalized. And no matter what anybody says, you have to have enough money to not only get in, but to have cash flow so that you can weather that first 6-7 months that no one might come into your store. Mm-hmm. My first advice is to be well capitalized before you don't have to be that to look. So it took me 2 years from when I started to when I met with the broker. Mm-hmm. And when someone says, how fast can I find a store? How fast can I get into this business? I had to write this down. So I'm reading from this real fast.
One of the things you guys will know about Tim is he's incredibly organized. And I wish I were half as organized as Tim. But that is a secret ninja skill for sure that will take you a long ways. So yeah, let's hear that timeline.
And the funny thing about it is actually going to those stores, taking pictures, chronicling parking structures, how far it is, how many washers, what type of washers, how old, and I put it into the database. So now I can go, and now those stores are like my surrounding competition. Mm-hmm. And I have pictures of, I went to maybe 83 laundromats or so, and I have all the data at my fingertips. So that's a good thing. Write it down. So I started this journey in February of 2022. And this is 2025. So that's just the start. But I didn't meet the broker until March of 2023. So that was a year from when I started going to this process to when I first met the broker. That absorbing yourself with all the information you can, by the time you meet a broker, you should know what you're talking about, or they just won't return your call.
So during that time, just to clarify, that's when you were like in YouTube world and book world and podcast world, and you're literally
and driving around to laundromats and
that was
collecting data.
Months.
You're literally full time, right? I mean, this is your full-time job, is just researching the industry.
Yes. So I retired in January of 22. I started the corporation in February 22. Mm-hmm. And now that's my full-time job. And I was spending 8, 9, 11 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm. And this is before I've ever even met you, correct?
You hadn't met me yet.
Yep,
No.
that's right. Yep. Okay, go ahead.
So that was met the first broker in March of 2023. Now we talk about the letter of intent, the LOI. From March of 2023 to the first time that we put in the LOI and they start accepting it, they're going to go through all of your financial data, all of your bank statements, 2 years of income tax returns. What type of business plan do you have? And they eliminate everyone except someone that can squeak through that. Mm-hmm. And for the audience, I have a 4,000 square foot store. From the broker standpoint, the opening criteria, was you had to have at least $1.5 to $2 million net worth. And so that eliminated quite a few people, except maybe investors. And I came in as an investor. But this timeline, the first LOI was July of 20. So we're talking 4 months just from when I met him to when we negotiated where we were going to go with the LOI. They accepted the LOI in October 3rd of 2023. And we negotiated the lease for another 3 months. So from 1 year that I started to find the broker and the laundromat, and 1 year from the time I negotiated with the broker till we actually had the lease signed. So that's how long it takes.
If you're thinking of getting into business for yourself, I have something I think you'll find useful. Hi, I'm Dave Menz, owner of the best-selling book, Laundromat Millionaire, The Grit to Elevate an Industry. I've been in the laundromat business for over a decade, and I've grown it from one janky location to 4 high-quality laundromats with over 30 employees on our team. Don't believe me or think I'm just another goofball scheme on the internet? Go ahead, Google my name, Google me, and even check out my podcast, The Laundromat Millionaire Show. Truth is that I get you're skeptical, and I would be too, but hear me out for a second. Back in 2009, I started with about $30,000 in cash, and then I leveraged myself into a multi-million-dollar operation using laundromats as the vehicle. And now I want to share some of the things that I've learned while helping other laundromat owners and expanding my own businesses with you. Looking for a get-rich-quick or passive income business? Well, this isn't the business for you. Looking for a business that is flexible, stable, cash flows well, and is recession resistant and is needed in every community in the country? Then I've got you covered. And what you're looking for is a modernized laundromat. Nope, not just any laundromat, but a modernized laundromat. Just look around in your local neighborhood. Look at the local laundromats around you. It's likely in bad shape, and it's really not serving anyone very well. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you want to learn more about my course and my coaching program, just click on the link for more information. But let me warn you, while the transformation in your community and your life are for real, so is the work. That's right. This is a real business with real investment and real work involved. But man, just imagine how worth it it'll be when you look in the mirror and realize that you're a laundromat millionaire.
Can I have you back up just a second? Because I think
Sure.
Contacting the broker. So when you, and this is me not knowing much about brokers, we've never worked through a broker. We've always bought directly the ones that we've acquired. So with a broker, the brokers don't help you find laundromats, or do some help you find, or you already have the laundromat and they're the broker in charge of that laundromat. This might be a dumb question.
No, not at all. No, it's a real estate broker, not a laundromat broker.
Okay.
And so the landlord is going to hire an agency to market their building or to market their space. And that agency, this is CBI, They're a pretty big outfit. So they will do all of the marketing, all of the brochures. They will meet with the potential tenants, do the showing and everything, pretty much like a real estate broker for your home.
Okay.
So you don't really want to show your home to everyone. You got other things to do. So the real estate broker is the broker I'm speaking with. I didn't work with a laundry broker or anything like that.
And I will say, well, a couple things. First of all, brokers will work on the other side too. They will go out and help you find locations, but they still work for the property owner. That's where their commission comes from. So they will do that, especially in bigger cities. But he's saying a lot of the ones he talked to really weren't interested in that. There are plenty of them that are so big, they've got a whole portfolio of properties that they're trying to sell. They're not helping you find one. They're like, you let me know if one of the ones I have are of interest.
I guess that was my confusion. I wasn't sure if you reach out to a broker to help you find a property, or you find the property and reach out to the broker that's in charge of it. And
so as you're driving around and you're looking at the different shopping centers, there's big old signs out front saying, lease space available, call XYZ brokerage. Okay. Or in my case, they're big 15 by 20 foot banners that say, call this number if you want to lease this space. And it was a year before I actually spoke to the landlord. I never had any idea who they are. So they keep those guys pretty well protected. And so you're only dealing with the real estate broker. And depending on what type of relationship you have with him or her, can make it go smoothly, or they can shut you down as a gatekeeper and you never get past the first base.
Oh, wow. But you already had the property selected when you finally talked to him, and then you had to kind of get his approval as a viable candidate for that property?
Yeah, so I called and we met at the store that I have now.
So before we move on to the rest of the story, which is actually like the construction process, I wanted to drill on a little bit more of when you were doing, I feel like we kind of glossed over that research phase, that year of digging in. What did you find? You don't have to say anything negative or even positive about other individuals or platforms, but what did you find? Because you're consuming all this information. Now you can fast forward and reflect back on that information. What could be helpful to people that are in your situation today that are, it used to be that there wasn't enough information about the internet, like you just couldn't find anything. And now it's almost the opposite. It's almost like there's too much. It's all this passive income, kind of schwarmy, slimy type of stuff that sort of kind of tells the truth and kind of sort of forgets a lot of things. Like now that you have a little bit of time to reflect and you've actually built a store, when you look at that consumption of content, how do you view that?
I think it is predatory is the first word that comes to mind for me, because it reminds me of the agent that is standing at the bus stop waiting for the starlet to come off the bus from Kansas. And you're preying on someone that has these dreams. Passive income is a dream. Wealth creating is a dream.
Sure.
Being able to play with all the quarters and the dollars is a dream. And a lot of people have those dreams. And I think that there are a lot of content out there that is preying on those dreams. And there's not enough content that should be scaring those people straight. As they say, like in the Scared Straight was like a prison movie. To keep kids from going to prison.
I remember that show.
I'm outside the demographic, I think, of the people that are looking for laundromats, because I've already acquired my wealth and I've already had the estate planning and I'm retired. And I started looking at age 66, not 26, 36, 46. So I'm looking at it through a different set of eyes, and I have a different set of skills and experience. But I can remember back when I was 27. I can remember back when I was 31. And back then there was no YouTube and there was not a lot of consumption. So it's dangerous out there. And for the folks that are listening, there is there's nothing bad about dreaming, but if it's too good to be true, it's not true. And so free laundromat while you're still working full time, and the landlord is going to give you 1 year rent abatement, that's possible. I did get 1 year rent abatement. The store was closed for 4 years, and I had to take it as is. So I found out later that the gas meter was removed 2 years ago. So it was no gas meter. So that was $13,000. The landlord did not pick that up. The first day that LADWP, the water company, turned on the water, it flooded the tenant next door. So now there's busted pipes behind drywall. Okay, I had to pick that up. And so, it was free. And the lease deposit is $13,000. LADWP wanted $11,000. The gas company wanted $4,000, and they messed up with a meter, so I ended up paying another $6,000. So I'm $25,000, $30,000 out, and I haven't even started the demo yet. So that's when I talk about, and that was a free laundromat. So that's what I'm talking about, capital intensive. And then the permitting, the failed inspections, the timeline. I thought I was going to open in 6 months. I couldn't even start demo for 3 months because we didn't get the demo permit. You have architectural drawings. Those are all it's like being a professional athlete and you see that ice skater and it looks so beautiful. You don't see the practice. You don't see the coaching because that's not entertaining. A lot of things on YouTube are entertaining and that's it. But if you talk to a real owner, someone that came in and I had capital and I have experience and I've started businesses, I couldn't imagine the route without any help that I wouldn't even undertake it. It wouldn't even be a consideration of mine. I would work in a laundromat for 4 years before I even thought about dropping $100,000 or getting a second mortgage or something like that. So the content that you and Carla put out is sometimes probably hard to swallow to the dreamers. And there's a lot of content that the dreamers love to hear and it pumps them up. But then again, they have to come out with $500 here, or $300 here, or $3,000 here, and they use a credit card, and now they've got 21% interest on that, and they're still dreaming that they're going to get a laundromat. And so I feel bad, and I want to not rain on this parade, but I do want to make a cautionary tale of someone that has the ability and the finances on what I went through. There is a very, very big cautionary tale nowadays. I guess 30 years ago, you could get in with a hope and a dream. Those days are gone.
It's a very capital.
Sorry, audience.
It's a very capital intensive business. And
I
always say there are exceptions to everything. For example, a lot of the red tape and stuff you're describing. I mean, you're in LA, so let's call a spade, right?
Yeah.
Everything's more difficult in LA and New York than just about anywhere in the world. So is it necessarily 1-to-1 in a, I always pick on Arkansas. I don't know why, but some little one-horse town in Arkansas, well, no, they probably don't have the red tape that Tim had to go through. So, I mean, everything's relative, but at the same time, I anecdotally just use the number of 80-20. I don't even know if that's fair, but 80% of the information that's out there on the internet, the free information that's out there on the internet about laundromats is just complete and utter nonsense. I'm not suggesting that they are intentionally doing that. I mean, a lot of people putting out this information, bought a little laundromat for $100,000 with their grandma's money, and they do all the repairs themselves, and they've owned it for 12 months. And in their world, this is the laundromat industry, right? They have no context. They don't actually know what the real industry is. They haven't networked. They just know what running this little 2,000 square foot laundromat in their town in Iowa is like, And so I always say, I don't want to attack someone's intentions or credibility or integrity or anything. I don't know who they are and what they actually think and believe. They might be telling, I hate this term, but their truth, right? But that doesn't make it the truth for the majority of the industry. And that's what's really dangerous about people that have good intentions sometimes, but really have very little context, haven't been doing this very long, and they're out there trying to be a coach, trying to be a consultant.
Well, and I wouldn't even say time in the industry is the only thing, because I know, Tim, you talked about you get advice from people who've been in the industry for 10 or 15 or 20 years, and they're like, their advice isn't always great because they're still running the laundromat like it the same way it ran 20 years ago or whatever.
That's what I was just.
They come in critical. What they see. They don't understand what they see. They don't understand what the customer's perception when they don't see that machines take orders. My machine takes no money whatsoever. And that's new to them, but it's not new to Gen X because they've been paying Starbucks and DoorDash. And I think of all the different companies that were old school. I'm from old school. I was before credit cards. Diner's card was the first credit card ever existed. I'm with blue chip stamps and layaway. But if I stayed there, I would be a dinosaur right now.
I know what all of those are.
Yeah.
I don't know what blue chip stamps are. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Look that up.
I'll have to Google that.
Yeah, Google that. So, the folks that are coming in and Tim, you're not going to be successful. And now I'm thinking, okay, I understand you saying that because you're Kodak and you poo-pooed on digital, on digital cameras. And now Kodak doesn't exist. Oh, you're Blockbuster and you poo-pooed on Netflix and Blockbuster doesn't exist. And some of the old folks, it's time to get out the business because that horse has moved on. There are people with Henry Ford. Horse's carriage will never take off. Yeah. And so I take it with a grain of salt because I'm looking at someone that's nostalgic, but they're putting on an air of authority. And so it was slightly insultive the first couple times. Now it's humorous when they come in and like, Carla, you're one of them.
Yeah, Carla, I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I was actually going next with it was there's a lot of people doing that kind of stuff and it's misleading people whether they intend to or not is kind of my point.
Yeah, they might have the best of intentions.
But there are exceptions. And we're talking about Tim. I mean, for one, we have one of the guests on right now. Tim, you are the exception. The fact that you can't bring value to other people in this industry because you've only owned a laundromat for 7 weeks is ridiculous, which is why you're on this podcast, right? But let's also look at the background and the history and the experience and the wisdom that comes with someone in your situation, right? So I'm not trying to stereotype anybody. What I'm really trying to point out is you're exactly right, Tim. There are what I call the old heads, the people who have been in this industry for 40, 45, 50 years, and they think because they have 20 years on me that I couldn't possibly know anything. And I'm like, that can work against you, right? So there's exceptions to everything. You are the exception. The people that come in and insult your business model, which is absolutely the present and future of our industry, and you are absolutely hitting a grand slam. I'm very intimately involved in your project, and I'm 1,000% positive of that. So for them to come in and, like you said, be arrogant and say those things because they've been in the industry for 60 years is insane. But the flip side is also true, where we have people producing content that honestly don't really have much wisdom, don't really have much life experience. This is their first business, and they're maybe even have good intentions, but there's a lot of that content out there. So all I'm really trying to get at here, and I think we're all trying to get at here, is just be careful. Right? Just be cautious. You can consume. I mean, Tim consumed a lot of that content. It didn't hurt him. He's okay. But he's also a wise guy. He was, trust me, we talked about this on coaching calls and how he sifted through and navigated the good and the bad and the maybe the stuff in the middle comes from someone with a lot of wisdom, right? A lot of life experience, and someone who started other companies and are just like, that sounds too good to be true. And my life experience tells me when something is too good to be true, it typically is. So anyway, I wanted to make sure we didn't move on without addressing that. So thank you
just
guys.
One more comment on that is I would recommend people try to look behind the curtain. And I realize there's only so much out there, but like when you see that content online, go and check out their Google page for their laundromat. What is their business? They're talking about this business. What's their business really like? What are their reviews like? Are they running a stand-up business? Look towards the people that are doing it the way you want to do it. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in too.
It's fine that model individual that you want to be like, that you want to emulate. And I bought that into Dave and Carla. And from the coaching clients, I remember one pushback, and you were like totally, absolutely right when we first started talking about how I envisioned the number of washing machines and the sizes. I didn't want any 20s. I didn't want any too low, 20 pounds. You're like, Tim, some people are going to want to go with this small thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I want to primarily do pickup delivery and wash, dry, fold. He goes, well, you know what? It will be more productive for your processors if you had some 20s, if they had smaller loads. And that was the thing that clicked in my head was I have this vision, but production is more important than my vision. And so I have 620s and they're humming right along. And that's the first thing. And Dave said, put your biggest machines in front. my biggest machines in front. I designed it. Dave tweaked it. I retweaked it. He explained it to me. It's exactly the way we coordinate it and put it together. And I have people actually come in. This is the first business that I've had where I'm dealing with the public. All my businesses have been business to business.
Okay.
And so you're like minds. But now I feel like Sam Malone on Cheers. You don't know who's going to walk in that bar. And
There's
so
some
when I
truth to
go
that.
out, I go out and I introduce myself. I have no idea. And I'm learning life stories and kids. And it's therapeutic for me. But a common theme among the people that come in is they're appreciative that I made it as classy as it is. And I made it more classy than the industry is used to seeing. When mine was vacant for 4 years, and no one wanted that laundromat because there was a 24-hour free dry laundromat in the next parking lot, and it's still there. And that scared everyone. I'm siphoning off the business from that store because the demographics of people want free dry. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't care. They want a good atmosphere. They want to feel safe. They want to have new equipment, and they will pay more, and I charge more. And I'm going from my consultations with the Menses and a little step further, a 30% margin. That's my floor, 30%. I'm at 40, 45, 50. Some products I have 250% markup. And the avatar that comes in has no question about it. There are people that come in, look at it, walk right out. They're not my avatar. They've seen it. They'll never come back. That's great. And so Deluxe Laundry Spa, from an internet bar to artwork in the bathroom, is wowing my avatar. Mm-hmm. And if the audience out there wants to do something, as Dave and Carl, I think in the back, is to give to others. If you build your store with them in mind, the money's going to come. Yeah, it's just money, but they will pay more. They will be happier, and they will let you know it. And then the ones that don't want to pay more, they will let you know it. And that's not your avatar. So now you're hitting two birds with one stone. You're getting rid of the avatar that you don't want, and you're separating the avatar that you do want. And I can guarantee the audience, those two avatars, they don't like each other anyway.
Tim, you're much wiser than me and have much more business experience than I do. But at the same time, I didn't always know that we are to try in business, to try to be all things to all people is the quickest path to failure.
Agreed.
It took me, 5 to 7 years, probably, maybe not quite that long, 4 to 7 years, to figure that out. And so that's something that I really screamed from the mountaintops. It's like, we're not suggesting that, lower income people or people that don't value a high modernized laundromat or people that prefer it. I'm not suggesting that we're better than them, right? That's not what this is about. It's about that when you build a business, any business, restaurant, whatever, you want to be fast food, be great at fast food, but don't try to be a sit-down restaurant with waiters and waitresses, right? And be what you're good at, know who you are, and you have to start with the end in mind of who you're going to serve. And I feel like I did this, by the way, full disclosure. I feel like when a lot of us newbies get into any industry that have just never owned a business before, for the first 4 years we were in business, I was like, I want every customer. Who's your customer? All of them. Everybody that has laundry, I want them all. And I very quickly figured out, one, that wasn't good for me, but two, it also wasn't good for them because they all had different needs. Some of them, when I really invested heavily in the business, put new equipment in, had to raise the prices accordingly, they were very appreciative. Some of them weren't appreciative. They were like, well, the old ones were fine. Why did you raise the price from $3 to $5 or whatever, And that's when I was like, well, man, whatever I do, I can't win. And that's when it kind of started to click with me, and I do a lot of reading too. I started to click with me that I needed to learn about business, right? Not about laundromats. I need to learn about business. So be who you want to be, build your business model around your ideal avatar, but please don't try to be all things to all people. There's a place for all of us. I'm not, other than the zombie mats, there's no place for you. Sorry. But anyway,
excellent
advice. We have spent a ton of time on this, but I want to get into the meat and potatoes.
So we kind of left off with you've signed a lease. You finally have the place, and that was in March of 24. And your timeline was 6 months to open, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And how'd that go?
Not good.
So I signed the lease. I signed the lease, but they needed a $13,975 deposit, and then the landlord.
But it was a free laundromat. laundromat? Why did they need $14K?
Yeah. That was the first cashier's check of my free laundromat was almost $14,000. So
and then all your deposits.
Once they got that, then they countersigned the lease. Now I have a lease. Now I can get the keys, locksmith out to change the locks. So that was the next day, and I'm thinking, I already had Alliance in line. I already had my distributor, and so I'm thinking the next day I can start demo. Not so fast. You need a demo permit. Before a demo permit, you need to have the architectural plans. Before the architectural plans, you need to have those approved by the city. Okay, how long does that take? A week or so? No, 2 months. I'm like, I could have started that 2 months ago, but I didn't have the lease, so there's no reason to doing that. So chicken or the egg, you're stuck, and nothing starts before the lease is signed. And so my demo didn't start until May. So now I'm coming into the store and I'm just sweeping dirt and moving things around and taking the trash out, busying myself. And then the demo starts. And so now that was a lot of fun because we totally gutted the place. So it was a laundromat before. It had been closed for 4 years, and it was just it's the anchor of the small center. And so in the negotiations, because the center had been neglected, the owners had purchased it out of foreclosure. The parking lot was a mess. It was beat up. The paint was peeling. The lights weren't work. There's a Papa John's there, a cleaners, and a salon, and a little clothing store. So in the negotiations, knowing that I'm going to sell this business in 10 years to another investing firm, I needed to have it look a little different. So in negotiations, if that forward thinking, I thought more about the entire center than I thought about my just laundromat. So I negotiated to have the parking lot repaved, to have it resurfaced, to have it repainted, to have all new lights put in the center, to have the center entirely painted the color of my choice. And as I'm explaining this to a couple of the tenants, they're like, we've been waiting for this for like 2 years. Okay, so the timeline is started to go from March to May for the demo to start. Once that was done, that was supposed to be 7 days. It was 2 weeks. And so now timelines are pushing out and pushing out. The good news is that my distributor was also a general contractor. He's got a GC, and he has a group of subs that have been working together doing only laundromats for like 10 years. Nice. So I didn't go through a subcontractor nightmare with them arguing with each other and not working together. So ripping out all the plumbing, all the electrical, all the framing, and putting together the way I wanted it to look. Construction started right after demo, like May 10th, and they were done with the final inspection, plans, permits, supplies, failed inspections, and I got the certificate of occupancy December 9th. So basically 9 months from March to December. So I call it my baby because that's about how long it takes to make one.
I love that. So we talked about this offline, but I want to point this out to people now. When I was coaching you through this whole process, one of the things I told you is, you're a very organized guy. You're very disciplined. You're a real estate investor, so you've done projects similar to this before, just not laundromats. You've done, demo, and that this world is not new to you other than the laundromat world. But I recommend all my clients when they're building new construction and even retools, if they're significant retools, to add 20% to the cost of whatever your budget you think it is. Put 20% over, and put 20% over on time too. I told you that too. And I remember that kind of lit you up. You were like, oh, okay, I should do that. And I think you did add that to both. How did you come in there?
Well, I wanted to impress you when you said 20% over.
You want to beat that.
I want to beat that. I'm like, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go 15% over. I wanted to go 40% over.
Yeah.
And it went 40% over. So your advice of the 20% is a good floor. I would say that's the floor. Be prepared to go 50% over. So I thought it was going to be 6 months. It was 9 months.
Yep. Okay.
And I thought my construction cost was $257,000, and it was $380,000.
Okay. And obviously for everybody at home, that's not equipment. That's just construction.
Yeah, that's construction. The equipment was separate.
Yeah. Do you know what the total cost of your project was? Equipment and all?
Yeah. So the total alliance piece is $701,000.
Okay.
And then I had to put $300,000 in on top of that. So I'm 1.2 million in.
And that's with construction?
That's with construction,
Okay.
yes.
And that's it.
So,
just to give everybody at home, he's in LA, right? Keep that in mind because that is a little bit of a different animal. Did you say 1.1?
1.2.
1.2 mil, yeah.
So you have a $1.2 million free laundromat.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And that's about a 4,000 square foot laundromat in the heart of LA, right? Not the outskirts.
Yeah. So we're about 3 miles west of SoFi Stadium, where they had the Super Bowl last year, and they're going to have the Olympics there 4 years from now. So there's a lot of construction. There's a lot of building and development going on, and there's a different avatar that's coming in with a live-work balance similar to what New York has.
Yeah.
That's the development that's happening right now in my area.
Want more profits out of your laundromat business? Let us tell you about our new company, LaundroBoost, and how it can help you to boost your profits. You may be thinking you've used digital marketing companies before and they wasted your time and money. Well, that's why LaundroBoost was born. As 14-year veteran laundromat operators ourselves, we've been there, and it's sickening.
So what makes LaundroBoost different? Our team combines technical digital marketing with veteran laundromat operators and coaches to give your campaigns the ideal blend for getting you results. But then we take it a step further with our strategy. Our strategy is to be hyper vigilant with every marketing dollar, so no fluff.
Yeah, in the beginning, we focus on a 3-pronged approach that we think is unique in the industry. The first is website design and landing pages, making sure those are honed in properly. The second is daily analytics studies and strategy with your Google AdWords campaigns. And the third is geofencing. It focuses on your nearest competitors and where your ideal customers live and where they shop. We believe we've got something special, and we've spent our own dollars here in Cincinnati to test it, and we're growing faster now than ever before.
To learn more, schedule a free discovery call and market study for your market. Visit laundroboostmarketing.com today.
So a couple topics I'd love for you to address real quick before we let you go today. One, store layout. How did that work for you based on research and your vision? And then you mentioned that I tweaked some things in our coaching process. What wisdom do you have to share for those at home that are looking at retrofitting or layouts or building new or whatever? What did you learn in that process relative to what you maybe thought in the beginning?
Well, what I initially thought was the more machines, the more money. And that turned out not to be true. I didn't try that, but the laundromat that was existing that went out of business had 60 top loaders. I'm thinking that's way too many top loaders. It's not enough room to walk around and maneuver through the store. So I went half that, 30 washing machines and 30 dryers. I did take Dave's advice as far as the calculation of the ratio between washer capacity and dryer capacity. So that helped me as far as how many 30-pound stacks I need, how many 45-pound stacks I need, how many 75-pound singles that I need. And I just used a calculation to that. And it was more science than art, but it's working out perfectly. Again, this store had like a little mini mart in the back. And so I totally had that gutted. And that's where our pickup and delivery area is. I also knew that when you're doing pickup and delivery or drop off, the major problem with laundromats is they don't have enough storage. And so I basically dedicated almost 900 square feet for pickup and delivery, drop off, and office space that has nothing to do with the laundromat. A lot of brokers that I've heard from, they say every square inch of your store should be generating income. No. You should be comfortable and your customers should be comfortable. getting them in there is going to generate income. You don't have to have every square inch that they can put money in, because then it's just noisy, it's congested, and you're really not serving the customer. It looks like you're being greedy. And this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think a big part of it's visualizing your facility as kind of this commodity mindset where everything is about coins and dollars and credit cards and stuff versus having a service mentality. Like, how can I give them a great experience? We value service more than ever before, right? That's why pickup and delivery is becoming such a big thing. It's because we value that. 20 years ago, pickup and delivery would have crashed and burned. It would not, there wasn't enough people that found that valuable, just like the oil changes and the mowing the lawns and the cleaning the houses of the world, right? That didn't used to be a very popular thing. Now it's becoming pretty mainstream, even for middle-class America. So anyway.
So talk to us about, you finally got your store open. Any expectations you had when you opened the door that you found the reality was different?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I know we've only had 7 weeks, just so everybody knows.
Yes,
I mean, you haven't really have enough runway to get going, but.
First day, December 11th. So I've got the certificate of occupancy on December 9th.
You thought they'd be lining up out on your sidewalk.
Yeah, that was a Monday. And I'm thinking, okay, let's make sure all the washers work, all the water works, and I turn on all the washing machines. Like, everything's looking good, nothing's leaking. And I just wanted one day to just relax and walk through the store. And so I put up signs in the windows that we're opening. I had A-frame signs I'm going to put out. We're opening tomorrow. The first 3 customers, free wash, free dry. And so that was great. So I put that up and I told my wife, I'm going in really early. We're opening at 8 a.m. I'm going in like 6 and make sure everything's fine. Okay. And so I get there and I turn on everything. I'm the proud owner. Everything is done. All the inspections, everything's over. I'm ready. And so unlock the doors. It's 8 a.m. No one's out there. I'm thinking that's okay. They
weren't camping out to be the first 3.
No. I was thinking, Macy's, Black Friday. I had all these ideas. I'm gonna have to push them away. So no one was out there. And I'm like, okay, that's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. No one's even walking by the store. And so by 1 o'clock that afternoon, I'm kind of like sitting there like a kid at Christmas waiting for Santa Claus. Is anybody? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, still nada. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Now it's starting to get dark. So I just took my little signs down. I'm thinking, okay, it's just the first day, no big deal. 6 o'clock, still nothing. Now I'm closing at 8. And at 6:33, a mom and her daughter wandered in. I mean, like literally, I looked around and wandered in. And so I jumped to attention and I did my spiel and I'm like, you guys are my very, very first customers. I just opened today. And I go, oh, it's nice. Where's your washing machines? And I'll walk them around. So they ended up taking a couple 40s and 40-pound washers. And they're sitting there. And I'm sitting like in the back, kind of looking at them like, they're my very first customers on this 2-year journey and everything I went through. And I'm thinking, I got to take a selfie. And so I went out to them like, do you guys mind taking a selfie with me? You're my very first customer. They go, sure. And they were the only ones that first day. Mm-hmm. They left and I'm just listening to jazz music, waiting for someone else to show up. So if someone is thinking that your first day, you're going to start seeing the videos where they're counting the money and they got the coins, and they have the buckets. It's going to be more like this.
Uh-huh. Well, and I want to point out too that in a way that's a little extreme. One customer all day, you'd like to have a few, but I mean the whole point of a soft opening, right? I mean, you didn't do a lot of marketing, right? Intentionally.
I did not want 20 people in there when I didn't know what was going on.
That's right.
So.
You trust me, if something's going to go wrong, it's in those first couple of weeks. It's not necessarily the first day, by the way. So you want to do a soft opening. The concept is you want them to slowly trickle in. You want them to slowly find out about you. And then once you've tested everything, at 1 customer, 2 customers, 70% capacity, 100% capacity, then you can go for a grand opening. A lot of people that have never owned a business think the grand opening is the day you open. Mm-hmm. No. The grand opening is months later. In fact, have you even had a grand opening yet?
I have.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to throw marketing resources behind it and things like that. So,
well, let me correct that. It's not really a grand opening. I had I called a family and friends
Oh, yeah.
private opening. So I closed the store to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our neighbors and our family there, and we served food, and it was probably 30 or 40 people. So that was as many people as the store. But if anything went wrong, I wouldn't get a 1-star review because everyone knew us.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that was probably better.
Yes.
As far as an actual grand opening, I don't think I need one.
Mm-hmm.
I have written down, it's been 7 weeks and 2 days. I just did a report. For customers that actually use their credit card that are on the system, I've had 118 new customers. Out of that 118 new customers, I would say 90% are repeat. They're coming in every week. And then the ones that just stick their card in, they come up as guest or NA. There's 70 of those. So I'm about 188 customers in 7 weeks.
Well, you did a lot of work ahead of time for sure. So that's a big part of it too. Also,
lastly, coming to your workshop, I was explaining to someone that our group, I think it was 10 of us. I think it was like 10 of us. And I think I hadn't opened yet. And I think 2 other people hadn't opened yet. But the other group had already opened. And David mentioned they leave with more questions than they come with. I think it was to my advantage to not have opened before I took the workshop, because I didn't have to undo anything. I didn't have to unlearn anything. I didn't have to rearrange anything. Everything started off day one as I learned from the workshop and the workbook. And so for those out there listening, it's better to start sooner than later.
For sure. Absolutely. Okay. So we have covered just about everything we can cover today. But one of the things I want to do is give you an opportunity to just let people know how can they reach out to you. Because a big part of why we do this and why we do workshops and why we do coaching is to connect each other together, to build networks, to build relationships. But how can people connect with you? Are you on social media, things like that?
Yes, I have a Facebook page. Everything is under deluxelaundryspa.com. My website is deluxelaundryspa.com. My email is tim@deluxelaundryspa.com. And you can reach out and find me there.
Well, and I know if people aren't aware that are listening, we have a Facebook group, Laundromat Millionaire Owners Group, that's totally free. So if you're on Facebook, join. And I noticed just the other day, somebody joined with your name. So I think that,
Yes.
I don't even know if I've approved it yet, actually, but it'll be approved. Don't you worry. So you'll find Tim on our Facebook group too. So if you're looking for a home online to be able to connect with other laundromat owners, as of the recording of this, there's about 7,500 people in the group, and Tim will be joining, so you'll see his name in there, and you'll have a little bit of context because you'll have heard his story. So feel free to join that as well. That's also a free resource. For everyone back home, thank you for joining us today. I hope you got a lot out of this episode, and we'll see you next time for another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show, sponsored by HM Company, DrainTroughs.com. Take care, everyone. See you next time.